2-point game. No timeouts. 10 seconds left. Jazz down 2. Hayward across the half court with 7. Drives into traffic. Bounces to the wing. Trey for a 3 right side. It's good! Trey Burke from the right corner buries the 3. 1.6 seconds left. That kid is simply total.
Hi, Jazz Nation. This is Trey Burke. Thanks for being the best fans in the NBA.
It is time for tip-off. The NBA starts today. I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. Jazz don't start today. We fly to Detroit. Detroit starts today. They're in Atlanta, and the NBA starts tonight. Ton of predictions coming for you on the show today. People all around the country have made predictions. SB Nation, CBS Sportsline, ESPN has theirs out. We're not getting into those today. And all sorts of other ones are out and about. Plus, fun little game or feature I have for you that I'm going to share with you is the road to 45 wins. So what will it take for the Utah Jazz to win 45 games this year? That to me is a high number. I think that gets us in the playoffs unquestionably. It also, I think, is probably higher than expectations and should be, but let's play with it. Let's keep that, and I'll show you how we do this. It'll allow us to keep kind of the monitor. We'll be able to monitor it all season long the way I have it built and all that. So that's the way it's done, and that's the show we have coming up. So the road to 45 wins, plus NBA news, plus all these predictions, and we'll talk a little bit about the Jazz and where they stand right now. Let's get our pin across America. For those of you who haven't done this before, let us know where you're listening, why you're a Jazz fan, what your backstory is, and then we highlight one person of our great Jazz community every day on the show. Today it's Nate Walker. He's writing from Vineyard, Utah. He's also lived for a while in Miami to finish some schooling. He used to listen to Tip-Off and sound like the smartest guy around the water cooler with stats. Now all the same guys listen to Tip-Off. I've lost my authenticity. I appreciate all you do in this growing online Jazz community. I've been a Jazz fan since I was 6 and a 33-year-old. I have not missed a tip-off. A few years back, I took my talents to Miami, and this guy's funny, and I was able to constantly keep a pulse on the Jazz while being 2,500 miles away. Thank you for all you do. A father of 4, I'm installing the love of sports and Jazz into my kids. Reminisce about my many Jazz milestones that have made an impact in my life. Karl Malone jumping out of bounds to save a basketball as I walked to my seat, nearly bulldozing me at 11. I was standing in my friend's kitchen as Stockton sent the Jazz to the NBA Finals. I think all of us at some age that are old enough remember that. Junior Jazz program that sat on the top row when the Jazz beat MJ and the Bulls in triple overtime. Bought Jazz season tickets the year the Jazz had a starting lineup of Carlos Arroyo, Raja Bell, Matt Harpring, AK, and they were extremely cheap and got a Cinderella season. Choked up at the Hall of Fame speeches of Stockton, Malone, and Sloan. Make my wife watch the Jazz beat the Warriors in the playoffs on our honeymoon, and I've made it a habit to never miss a LeBron game. Attended the Sundiata Gaines game, took my talents to Miami, saw the Millsap Miracle in Miami, and then last year, Hayward's 20-foot jumper. Jazz fan for life. Thanks. Nate Walker, that's a fabulous one. You can do the same at dlock09@gmail.com. I'm really taking them at this point, the order they've come in. However, I might occasionally, as we get into the season, if we're in your city, try to grab it. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do this. I just thought it'd be cool. I got 2 yesterday, one from Clawson, Michigan, another from Ann Arbor. And so I thought maybe, hey, if you're in Detroit or Philly or Indy on those days, drop me a line at dlock09@gmail.com, and maybe we'll try to get those to you. All right, let's start off with some news. Mavericks and Rick Carlisle are nearing a 5-year extension. It's interesting. Meta World Peace has, and I think that's important because to me a little bit, that's a sign that maybe the Mavericks are more willing to tank. You know, hey, if Carlisle knows he gets a benefit out of pulling the plug and letting Matthews and Chandler Parsons, everyone get healthy, if he has a 5-year contract. Meta World Peace made the Lakers. Kind of a neat comeback story there. The Bulls have become really the team that I don't know about. I'm listening to Van Gundy, thinks they're going to be the number 1 seed. He was with Zach Lowe, Jeff. Other people, I don't see it. I think their brilliance was Tom Thibodeau and Joakim Noah. If you got Joakim Noah coming off the bench now, Thibodeau's gone. I'm just not sure it's the same team. Derrick Rose is inefficient. We'll see, but Chicago has become the biggest mystery team to me in the NBA. Clippers sounds like Lance Stevenson is going to start for the Clippers this year. Pretty interesting stuff. All right, let's run through some of the predictions that are out there. I'm going to start with SB Nation, just kind of share some of the things I think are most interesting. And I'll tell you that there's a point to this. And the point of this is how awesome this season's going to be because it's really unknown. You know, there's very few things that are universally accepted. So Cavaliers' #1 seed in the piss poor Eastern Conference is conceded. Everyone. What's next is of the SB Nation 7 guys, some very good guys in here. 4 of them took the Bulls. One of them took the Hawks, and 2 of them took the Heat as the #2 seed. Very kind of surprising, and maybe that's a little bit to do with your philosophy of how you believe the game. Because what's interesting is the Heat are 2 in a bunch of these, and then as low as you'll see on Nylon Calculus numbers, they don't make the playoffs. It makes the East pretty interesting. There's no universal top 3 teams in any of these teams of any of these groups either, as the Wizards jump in a few of these spots, and then the Hawks drop in numerous ones down to as low as 4. So the Eastern Conference kind of mismatched there. There does seem to be the Celtics are kind of the it team right now for everybody. You'll be curious to see how that plays out. In the West, the Warriors and Thunder are the only team that got voted the #1 seed. So some of the Spurs love has faded off. Spurs in the 7 SB Nation predictions are 4th, 5th, 4th, 5th, 2nd, 4th, 4th. So nobody other than one guy had the Spurs higher than 2nd. Little surprising to me. In fact, a lot surprising to me to see that. The Rockets, who were 2nd last year, 3rd, 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 3rd. The Jazz were projected. Tom Ziller does not have the Jazz making the playoffs, nor does one other member of their staff, Zito Madu. They're as high as 6th, according to Seth Rosenthal, and the rest 4. So 5 of the 7 have the Jazz making the playoffs in the 8th spot. The ones that don't have the Jazz making the playoffs, the Suns get in. The Nuggets are beginning to be an interesting team where a lot of people are beginning to think the Nuggets are better than kind of bottom tier team. They're knocking on some doors. Some people have them as 10, 11. Interesting to see that. The finals, everybody has the Cavaliers in the East. Universally. But what's interesting on the West, Thunder, Clippers, Warriors, Spurs, all there. Clippers once, Thunder twice, Warriors twice, Spurs twice. Pretty universal. Really, we don't know. Eastern Conference foe to the Cavaliers in the SB Nation predictions. 2 Wizards, 3 Bulls, 2 Heats, no Hawks. Everybody but Seth Rosenthal has the Warriors making the conference finals in the West. The other teams, Spurs 3, Clippers 2, Thunder 3. Rockets had Ty Lawson were in the Western Conference finals last year. Not one person predicts them to be in. Interesting. MVP. 3 Anthony Davis's, 2 Kevin Durant's, a James Harden, and a LeBron James. James Harden, by the way, was so good last year. So much better than people realize. It's interesting to me that he was better than Steph Curry last year. He might not have been the MVP, but he was a better player than Steph Curry. Impacted more plays, had a larger impact. It's interesting that there doesn't seem to be a buzz to me about James Harden. Kawhi Leonard's the universal Defensive Player of the Year, but in CBS Sportsline, it was Rudy Gobert. Rookie of the Year seems to be Okafor, Mudiay, or Towns at this point. Not a lot of, and most improved in some of that stuff is, it's somewhat absurd, I guess. All right, CBS Sportsline, and then we'll do, so these are all opinion pieces, and then we'll do the Nylon Calculus, which is all numbers. Again, the point here is just kind of how all over the map is. Jazz actually seem to be kind of taking a universal position on some of it. I'll do Nylon Calculus here for a second. The Nylon Calculus one. Actually, we'll switch to numbers. They have theirs out. Here's some. They have the Jazz at 40 wins, tied with the Mavericks for 8th. They've kind of combined all of theirs. Here are the 6 teams they have significantly different than Vegas. They have Milwaukee at 38 wins, just 6 less than what Vegas expects. They have Miami at 9 less than Vegas at 38, which is interesting because I really like Miami. I think Atlanta, Miami, and Cleveland are the 3 best teams in the East because I just think their offenses are so much better than everybody else. The Lakers, they have at 23, 6 below Vegas. Charlotte, they have at 5.5, which is more than Vegas, which is surprising me because I just think Charlotte's going to have a hard time scoring unless Nicholas Batum has a big-time year. Boston, again, the love of the numbers. Boston's going to be a really interesting team because if Boston's able to do what everyone's projected, it tells you the numbers are really onto something. They are the darling, and the Warriors higher than Vegas. They have at 63 wins. All right, let's go to CBS Sports Line. They had 5 guys: Ken Berger, Matt Moore, Zach Harper, James Herbert, and Anthony Pandian. They all, of course, Cavaliers are the Eastern Conference champion. Again, West, they do have a Rockets, 2 Warriors, and 2 Thunder, so no Spurs for all of that. Everyone's kind of cooled a little bit on the Spurs. I have been cool on it from the beginning. We'll see if any of us are right. NBA champion, they've got 2 Warriors, a Thunder, and 2 Cavs. MVP, 5 different guys. Blake Griffin, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook. Rookie of the year. Oh, CBS loves to play video. Wait 1 second.
Are those like designers?
Yeah, they are.
I saw you.
CBS, their rookie of the year, Hill Okafor, Stanley Johnson, Karl Anthony Towns twice, and Emmanuel Mudiay. Again, 4 of the 5 are different. Defense player of the year, 3 Rudy Goberts out of the 5. 6th man of the year, 2 Isaiah Thomases. Most improved player, Rudy Gobert and CJ McCollum and Aaron Gordon seem to be the favorites. All NBA gets a little bit more universal. Steph Curry, James Harden, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Anthony Davis with DeMarcus Cousins, Blake Griffin, Russell Westbrook spiced in there. And then CBS did win totals. I don't want to go through all of them, but for the Jazz, they had 44, 46, 47, and 42. Frankly, I would take any of those 3 if the Jazz are able to. Going from 20 to 30 to 40 in a 3-year sequence is really an incredible phenomena. And finally, Nylon Calculus's predictions of the West. Jazz Mavericks tied at 8. Pelicans 7. Memphis 6. Clippers 5. Houston 4. Oklahoma City 3. Spurs 2. Warriors 1. That's the numbers version. On the East, Bucks, no Heat. Bucks 8. Pacers 7. Wizards 6. Hawks 5. Bulls 4. Boston 3. Toronto 2, but 8 back from Cleveland. And then finally, NBA 2K, baby. Warriors beat the Cavs in 7. Oklahoma City wins the West in the regular season. Chicago and Miami are 2nd and 3rd in the East. Durant's the MVP. D'Angelo Russell is the Rookie of the Year, and Anthony Davis is the Defensive Player of the Year, according to a video game. All right, let's switch the focus over to the Jazz. Just an observation, having been at Open Gym all the way back in September, the progress that Raul Neto has made in the month is incredible. Some of it may be practicing against your own guys, understand the system. Really looked incredibly overwhelmed in September. Now he's kind of playing within himself. Natural progression, but still pretty awesome to see take place. And we've talked about this a lot, and I'll continue to talk. I mean, Trey Burke's growth is awesome. Great note on drives. I'll talk about drives tomorrow. There was another Nylon Calculus piece. Last year, Trey Burke had the lowest field goal percentage of any player in the NBA on drives to the basket at 33.9. And this is and Trey Burke used the most possessions of any player in the NBA in the final 7 seconds. And Trey Burke had the worst field goal percentage of probably any player in the NBA in isolation. Now, what that means to me is all these things are correctable, right? Yeah, if Trey Burke shoots 37 and 31%, we got major problems. But if you can correct, hey, I'm not very good at drives to the basket, I can I figure out how to drive, or I'm a little more selective of when I do drive since I only shot 34% on drives, or I change the way I drive, like I pull up in the lane and do some things instead of getting all the way to the rim because I think he had one of the lowest finishing rates of any player in the NBA at the rim. Look what happens. Look what happens to my game. Suddenly that 37 becomes a 43. Suddenly that 31 becomes a 35. Boom, we got an NBA player. It's a big deal. I'm really rooting for Trey. I'm loving what I'm seeing out of him, both on the floor and off the floor. His realization of some of the flaws he's made, his openness about it. There's a lot of exciting things going on with Trey Burke. I know Raul Neto is the flavor of the month, but really the fact is our goal here is if we can find a way to get 20 high-intensity minutes out of each of them, pestering the ball at three-quarter court, playing their butts off for 20 minutes each, play 8 minutes of the triple wing, we got a chance to be pretty good. All right, here's how the Jazz win 45 games this year. And we'll keep an eye on this throughout the year. And it's kind of a fun way to look at it. It ignores the schedule of when you play and things like that. So, for example, let's look at the Eastern Conference first. So the Eastern Conference, you play every team twice, and you play every team once. So you project the wins at home. And what's the first thing is, if you're going to get to 45 wins, you've got to win 13 of your 15 home games against the Eastern Conference. So I have us not beating Cleveland and not beating Chicago. I don't know why I picked Chicago. I just did. Could have been Atlanta. Could have been Miami. You got to win 13 of your 15 at home against the East. On the road against the East, I have us going just 5-15. Wins in New Jersey, which is Brooklyn. Sorry. I probably could change that. Guy, I don't know if he's still listening, lives in Vegas, Jeff Beckstrom, and I built this many years ago. New York, Philadelphia. I don't have us beating Detroit. I don't have us beating Indiana. I have us beating Orlando and Charlotte. All right, so we'll go 1-2 on this road trip, and we're actually still projected at 45 wins. Go get Detroit, and you're certainly +1 on the projection. We'll keep this all season long. We'll look at this every 5 games or so. In the West, and the way it works, by the way, is every time you play, you have a projected win to date. You get your actual wins, and then this calculates it up here to tell us where we are on the projection. So Denver, we play them 4 times. I have us beating Denver 3 out of 4. Portland, 4 times. Got to beat them 3 out of 4, both at home. Minnesota, 3 out of 4. Oklahoma City, we play them 4 times, 1 win. This is the thing that's going to be interesting about this season is the top is so good. The Lakers, 3 out, and the bottom's not. And we're right dead square in the middle. Lakers beat them 3 out of 4. Phoenix, we play them 4 times, we split. Golden State, play them 3 out of 4, or play them 4 times. If you look, 2 games at home, 1 projected win at home, 2 games on the road, no projected win, so we win 1 out of 4. Sacramento, we play them 3 times, beat them the 1 time at home, split on the road, 2-1. Clippers, we play 3 times, split at home, lose on the road, win 1. Houston, 4 games. I have a splitting with Houston. Okay, that's tough. Houston's good. You got to split with somebody, though, to get to 45 wins of the upper teams. You can't just lose 3 out of 4 to all of them. New Orleans, I have a splitting. Both home, winning 1 on the road, winning 1 at home. San Antonio, 4 games, 1 win. Dallas, only 3 games, and they're all late, by the way. That's kind of an interesting little note on Dallas, or most of them are late. Our only home game with Dallas is the last, I guess one of them is November 20th, a big one coming up on the road. Got to get 1 or 2 in American Airlines Arena, win the final, second to last home game. And then Memphis, we play only 3 times. You beat them once. Comes out to winning 18 of your 26 at home against the West and 9 of your 26 on the road against the West. By the end of the year, you're 31-10 at home, 14 wins on the road to get you to 45 wins. And that's how we'll look at it. So, if you look at it, you play Detroit, no projected wins. If we actually projected win to the date, 0. Actual wins, if we get the first game of the year, that becomes a 1. And then if you put the 1 up here, put the 1 there, you'll see Now, all of a sudden, our season projection is up to 46 wins. +1, go get Philadelphia, and it stays because we're projected to beat Philadelphia. Go beat Indiana, and suddenly you're up to 4. You can do the rest of it, you're up to 47. Never works quite this way, but that's the model to how you get to 45 wins for the Utah Jazz and make the playoffs. It would be an enormous jump. 25 to 38 to 45 would be an incredible, incredible jump for the Utah Jazz. We'll take it. I'm not in any way saying we won't take it, but I'm telling you that it is, that would be an amazing jump for people to take. All right, that is today's edition of Tip Off. Am I forgetting anything? I got some cool stuff on drives. Oh, I've got a question for the first time all year. Great. Thank you. You can throw in some questions live. Would you want a lottery pick or the 8th seed for the Jazz? 8th seed. It's time to play important basketball games. Time to play important, meaningful basketball games. And actually, here's the interesting thing. This year, the Western Conference win total for the 8th team may only be 40, 41, 42 wins, which means that it's probably going to just be one pick different than making the lottery. And the last bottom pack of the lottery is not that important. Here's one little fun note, Jazz note for you I had today that I was going to give you as well. Last year, the Jazz took the 5th most amount of uncontested jumpers. Atlanta took the most at 79%. New Orleans, 75.9. Philadelphia, Orlando, and Utah. So Utah took the 5th highest amount of uncontested jumpers last year. Uncontested jumpers are good because the field goal percentage of uncontested jumpers is 4 percentage points higher. The effective field goal percentage is 10 percentage points higher. I mentioned this with Hans and Scotty yesterday, and that is effective field goal percentage, league average 50%. True shooting percentage, which weighs free throw shooting as well, is 52.7. Actually, last year it looks like it might have been 53.4. It's traditionally been 52.7, but that number may have just moved up. I was just pulling up the season, and it looks like it's gone to 53. That's a higher number than usual. 53.4 is up. 13-14 year was actually, no, it's right up there. So 53, it was at 52.7 for a long time, but seems to have moved up. True shooting percentage up a little bit to 53.4 is your true shooting percentage number for the year, best number. And that's really some of the best way to evaluate an offensive player that's out there last year. The best in the league was Kyle Korver, an incredible 70%. Tyson Chandler, 70%. Brandon Wright at 66%. Luke Babbitt at 64. DeAndre Jordan 64. Steph Curry 64. Jeremy Evans 64%. And Kevin Durant 63%. All right, that is our tip-off today. I hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning from Detroit. It'll be the opener for the Utah Jazz. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.